What are the 10 worst films of 2023? That's an excellent question, and one that I decided to answer on my brand new shiny Twitch stream. Link in the description. And as I'm sure you can imagine, things got a little roasty. Subscribe if you love movies. So why don't we just roast the absolute hell out of all 10 movies that I hated the most this year? Starting off with fucking Renfield. Yeah, that's right. I said it. I know a lot of you out there think this is a good movie. Well, let me tell you the truth. The truth of the matter that you cannot accept in your heart of hearts. This movie is garbage. You want to know why it's garbage? I'm going to say this a couple of times for a couple of the different films that we're going to be getting to. But this movie started off as one movie, and then some fucking executive, some money person leaned in and say, oh, no. We need to make it a different movie. Do you want to know why? Why? Because I said so, and I'm an executive, so you have to do what I say. So then the person who made this movie, who made it in a particular way, needed to do it in a different way. And I'm sure there were reshoots, and I'm sure there were script changes, and I'm sure there was a bunch of bullshit. This film is too much all over the place. It changes tone all the time, rapid swings, absolute ridiculousness all the time. And I'm sure there were a bunch of moments where people were saying their lines, but their faces were not on screen, probably because there was a lot of crappy ADR in it. I'm saying probably a lot for this one because I saw it a while ago and I can't remember specifically. And why would I watch a movie that I didn't like again? Just so I could roast it the most properly. The only thing that I will give this film credit for is the blood. The blood looked really cool. If only the person who was in charge of the visual effects actually had more of a say in the rest of the film, it might actually have turned out a little bit better. But unfortunately, instead, we got this massive turd of a film that even a creepy Dracula Nicolas Cage could not save. And that is your 10th worst film of the year. Where do you think we go from here? Why, how about to a haunted mansion, the 9th worst film of the year. And this is a film that is bad because no one gave a shit. Not a single person involved with this film, aside from Lakeith Stanfield, gave a single goddamn shit about this movie. The directors, the writers, the visual effects artists, all of the other actors aside from Lakeith Stanfield, nobody cared. Everyone was just showing up and picking up a paycheck. And it was so goddamn evident. It was lazy, it was boring, it was uninteresting. Nothing seemed like it mattered because none of the characters seemed to give a shit about anything at all. So because of that, I say Haunted Mansion is garbage. And I'm sure this also suffered from the Disney effect of having some fat cat on top being like, I think we need to change this a little bit. And then you get lots of dumb things happening. Although I will give this film credit, it wasn't as obvious as it was in Renfield. But at least Renfield felt like it was trying to do something, even if it was muddled and all over the place. This film was just boring. Moving on from the 9th worst film to a film that literally none of you have heard of. Death of a Whistleblower, your 8th worst film of the year. And I actually feel a little bad about this one because I think there was a tiny scotch of effort put into this, but the execution was so goddamn bland. It was basically Angel Food Cake the movie, which a political thriller should never be described as. And for those of you who don't know what this movie is, it is a South African film. It takes place in, I think, the 1980s. It was after apartheid or before it was definitely after the end of apartheid. And it's all about people getting killed because someone did something bad and the government's trying to cover it up and then try to keep that cover up a cover up, basically. And then people start dying. And my God, for the premise being as good as it is, they just completely fucked up in this movie. Just like Haunted Mansion, it is boring, it is dull, but beyond that, aesthetically, it is the most basic film you could possibly imagine. This thing has going to a fast channel so you can watch it at 4 a.m. in 3 years written all over it. Those of you who have Pluto TV, this is going to be on your screens in 3 years. I guarantee it. That was the only thing I could think during my entire screening of this film. So congratulations to the people who got this film together and who tried their absolute best, but your efforts were in vain because what came out was not a great movie. Speaking of a lack of effort, and I feel like that's something I'm going to be saying a lot more during this whole charade, is the 7th worst film of the year. Yeah, I think we're on number 7, Simulant. And this is probably yet another film that none of you have heard of, although you may be surprised to find out that 3 of the biggest actors, well, maybe not the biggest actors, but 3 very well-known actors in 3 of the biggest film franchises of the last little while are in this film. Can you pick them out? Look, it's Jordana Brewster. It's Jordana Brewster from Fast and the Furious. And look at that. Is that Simu Liu from the MCU? My God. And is that Sam Worthington from Avatar? Yep, you would be right. And then you got one of the Amell brothers right there. Which one? Robbie Amell. Now this one for me is particularly a hard one to put into this list of worst movies of the year because it is a Canadian film. And I don't like shitting on Canadians, but this is an example of the absolute worst kind of Canadian filmmaking. The kind where they try to make a movie for the lowest budget possible, grab all the tax credits they can, pay some A-listers a bunch of money so that they don't notice how shitty of a film that they're in, and then they just go and try to make a movie. And this turned out so terribly. The main reason is that this is a film that is attempting to essentially do Blade Runner, a kind of an updated Blade Runner. The name Simulant should have tipped you off to the fact that this is definitely trying to be Blade Runner. But it is not. Oh no, it is not. It is Blade Runner on the cheap. And the problem is, when you try to do Blade Runner on the cheap, everything just goes wrong. You start focusing more on effects as opposed to actually writing a narrative that makes sense for your budget, which is the number one key when you are making a low budget film. These people who made this film, they forgot that lesson. They decided to write the dreamiest script that they could think of, probably to get some of these actors on, and then they could not deliver on what they thought they could. And it just ends up feeling so cheap and so lame and so dumb. And I think that this could have actually have been a decent movie. Not like a great movie, not a 4 or a 5 star, but it had the potential to be 2.5. And then it just all falls apart because they tried to do too much with too little, and god damn it, does it show. Shame on you for breaking one of the cardinal rules of low-budget filmmaking. And now we get to move on to a film on the absolute opposite end of the budgetary spectrum, Fast X. Oh my God, what an absolute shit show this movie was. Yeah, it's got action. Yeah, it's got literally every person who's ever been in a movie ever in it. This is basically the new Tombstone, which I really hate saying. I do not want to compare this movie to Tombstone, but it's true. Everyone is in this film. Unfortunately, they forgot to actually let a competent writer have a pass at this script. Do you know how big the plot holes are in this? There are actual parts of this movie where they just forget how certain things happened earlier in the film, and then they just ignore all of that. It's so dumb. And I know these are supposed to be dumb movies, but that doesn't mean they need to be stupid, right? I think we can all agree that maybe it's okay for films to be dumb, but they shouldn't be stupid. And I think that Fast X is the epitome of a stupid film. It just doesn't know the story that it's trying to tell, and it's constantly just making mistakes, simple mistakes in terms of who did what or how they did those things. And it's completely unforgivable at this point. It's your 10th kick at the can. How do you not have this dialed in so finely? How is this not the best film in the entire franchise? Well, I guess we'll never know, except we're going to have Fast X Part 2 or Fast 11 or whatever the hell they're going to call it coming out soon, so hooray for us. Also, the last thing that I will say about Fast X, it just looks like shit, right? And I don't mean the VFX. I mean the way that they chose to shoot this film, particularly how they are framing their characters. It just is either way too close up, or it's just massive wide shots. It doesn't make any sense, especially when you go back to Fast 9 or Fast 8. Like those films, they seem to be at least competently shot. Fast X looked like an amateur did it. Like maybe Vin Diesel was like calling out to the cinematographer in between shots and saying, hey, can we do this? Hey, can we do that? I think maybe the director got changed halfway through. Maybe that also affected it. I'm not sure, but something went very wrong with the cinematography in this film. And it is a damn shame, because this could have been one of the best dumb movies in a while, but instead it's one of the worst stupid movies. Shame on you. Shame on you. Speaking of shame, I don't think there's enough shame that I could lay at the feet of the filmmakers of the 5th worst film of the year, The Exorcist Believer. Oh my God. Do you remember earlier in this particular roast where I was talking about films that look like they were changed around by executives at the last second and that's why they're bad? This is a different version of that, because this film was always bad because the people who were involved in making it fucking suck at their job. We have seen the diminishing returns coming out of Dallas Gordon Green and his writing duo, starting with Halloween Kills and moving forward. And these idiots have been making a film every year since Halloween Kills. They are pumping out a film every year. Scripts, shooting, editing, everything's happening in a 12-month time period. That's insane. These guys need to chill. They need to relax. If they need 2 years to make a film, I say let them have it. Because if this is how you are going to follow up one of the best horror movies of all time, being The Exorcist and also The Exorcist 3, then you just shouldn't be allowed anywhere near it. Anywhere near it at all. Personally, if I had the rights to this franchise right now, I would just take it away from David Gordon Green and his writing fellows. It's just so boring. And I know I've said that a lot in this roast, but it's true. It's a boring movie. It's a boring, listless, pathetic film. There have been lots of conversation this year about really long movies and people having to getting up and going to the bathroom and missing key scenes or whatnot. I remember watching Killers of the Flower Moon. I did not go to the bathroom once in that film. This movie, this 90-minute piece of shit, I went to the bathroom once and I felt great about that. And I didn't miss a thing, even though I know that I missed the Avengers Assemble moment near the end as we were getting into the third act, because at that point, I couldn't be bothered. I was bored to tears, I was a little bit drunk, and I needed to go to the bathroom. And honestly, going to the toilet was the best experience I had while watching The Exorcist Believer. Absolute goddamn garbage. Moving on from number 5, we're going to get down to the number 4th worst movie of the year, 65. Oh, good God, did I have high hopes for this? This is a movie that, just like Fast X, had the potential to be a really good dumb movie, but then it just turned out to be stupid. And for a new original reason that we haven't talked about yet. The fact that whoever wrote this script just didn't show it to anyone and didn't get it checked over, and they basically went to camera with the first draft. That is the only way I can square in my mind how this film turned out as poorly as it did. This film is constantly contradicting itself. It is giving you information, telling you that the main character can't do a thing, or that a piece of technology can't do a thing, and then it just does the thing because it needed to happen in that exact moment. It's insane. It happens all the goddamn time. And for whatever good Adam Driver can do as an actor, because we know he's a great actor, he can't do anything with the words that they are forcing him to speak. It's insane. You can't. You just can't. You can't do anything here with it. He tries his best, but no, it doesn't work. Not even the presence of dinosaurs can save this horrendously written film. And man, I just wish so badly. I wish so badly that it could have been dumb. But it was just stupid. Now it's time for the number 3 worst film of the year, and that distinction belongs to Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. This is going to take me back to talking about Renfield, about how an executive came in and decided they wanted the film to be different, and so they had to do a lot of bullshit in order to make the film different. Well, in the case of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, that was the point the whole time. They shot this film specifically so that executives could meddle and piss around with it afterwards, and good lord does it show. Aside from the fact that our two main characters, Ant-Man and the Wasp, are like barely together in this film, they get split from each other almost immediately. This film feels so boring because everyone in this film is bored. The cinematography is bored because it's all happening in front of a green screen or in a volumetric thingamadooey. And it's unconscionable, I think, at this point in time, that a film that probably costs, what, $200 million to make can be this lame. I don't think I've used the word lame in this roast before, but I think that is exactly the best way to describe this film. It is lame. It is lazy. It is tired. It is essentially what you can expect when a movie studio knows that they can make hundreds of millions of dollars and not put out something that is quality. And it made hundreds of millions of dollars, didn't it? Yes, it did. Yes, it did. And I will say that this is the film that made me not give a shit about comic book films anymore. I think I ended up watching one more after this. It might have been Black Panther 2, but this was the one where I gave up. I have not seen the Marvels. I have not seen Aquaman. I did not see Blue Beetle. I, at this point, do not care. Even as someone who is supposed to know about these things because I'm a quote-unquote influencer or what have you, I just am not going to watch these films anymore. It's done. It's over. They are out of my life. Goodbye. Good riddance. And I hope you get better for the sake of everyone. Because if these films die, theaters probably die, because there's nothing that is going to appease a large market more than these films. So congratulations, Marvel. You might have just single-handedly killed the entire industry. Good work. We're getting right to the very end with our number 2 film, Boy Kills World, a film that only 624 people have actually seen. And I think those were probably all the people who saw it with me at the Toronto International Film Festival. And you would think that maybe this film had a chance of being good. It's got Bill Skarsgård in it. Look at that. There he is. He's looking pretty good. And it's like a kung fu movie. It's a dystopia movie. It's got a lot of ingredients in it that you think would make it actually good. And instead, it is the lamest, most disgusting attempt at making a video game movie I have ever seen. And this, to be clear, at least to my knowledge, is not an adaptation of a video game. It is just trying so very hard to be a video game. It's got all of the action. It's got no plot whatsoever, which I know, saying that is a disservice to video games. They do actually have quite a lot of plot. I'm pretty sure fucking Excitebike has more of a plot than this does. Oh, wait, did I mention that like all of the dialogue is like internal to the guy's head? This dude, our Bill Skarsgård, he doesn't speak at all during the film. In the film, he doesn't speak. He doesn't do it. It's all internal dialogue. So we're basically just getting really bad Harrison Ford and Blade Runner-esque voiceover the entire time. And oh boy, does it not work. It works so poorly. You also have pretty much everyone else in this film that you would probably recognize, like Famke Janssen and Brett Gelman. They just are not great. I even forgot that Charlton Copley's even in this film. He's not great either. Pretty much everyone in this film is not great. They're doing a bad job. It's trying so hard to be kitschy, to be campy, to be something that's fun, and it just falls flat on its face. I wanted to walk out of the theater so many times, but I saw it at a midnight screening, and by that point it was like, well, I might as well just stay here and get less sleep because I'm an idiot. I do stupid things at TIFF. I realize that. I would love to never talk about this film again. It is egregiously bad, but it's not as bad as our number 1 worst film of the year, Cocaine Bear. Who amongst you saw this coming? How many of you knew that I was going to be coming in hot and saying bad words about Cocaine Bear, the de facto worst film of the year? I bet a few of you are a little bit surprised. Look at that 2.7 it's got on Letterboxd right now. A fair number of people think that it's an okay, decent film. And I say to you, nay, like the horse that I am. This film is dog shit. It's bear shit even. Maybe bear shit would be too high of a praise for it. This is a film that is, I think, similar to Renfield in that they got to a certain point after shooting the whole thing and realized that they needed to make a lot of changes, or someone realized they needed to make a lot of changes. Although in this case with Cocaine Bear, I don't think it was an executive. I think it was the actual filmmakers looking at their footage and saying, oh, we didn't shoot everything, because that's the only way I can imagine this film actually got made, considering the end product. This film has so many instances where people are delivering lines while not being shown on screen, which I assume means that it was done using ADR after the fact. It's insane. If there was an award for that, this would win it for the next 10 years in a row. It's almost unfathomable that people can still make films this poorly. Elizabeth Banks, no less. She's not a bad director. She's done good stuff. Someone should have been there who knew what they were doing, and everyone just missed it. Everyone was just doing cocaine, maybe? Maybe they thought the fact that they would have like a CGI bear would just make up for the fact that no one bothered to read the script and check to make sure that it was complete, or that they could get all the shots in it. I don't know why you would continue on, honestly. Probably for a money reason, but I just can't. I can't even. I'm a Gen Zer now. I cannot even. No cap. I don't think I used that correctly. But hey, considering the people who made Cocaine Bear didn't make a film correctly, I feel fine saying stupid things. Dumb things even. And there you have it, the 10 worst films of 2023. What were your 10 worst? Put them in the comments, let me know. And also feel free to call me an idiot down there too and tell me that I'm wrong about stuff. I dare ya. I double dare ya. I probably didn't need to dare you to do that.